Hi, I'm James Barfield with Your Urban Connection. And remember, this is the channel that is often imitated, but is never duplicated because others simply won't touch the things that we talk about here. And today is going to be no different. And I want to tell you, I am deeply honored to have as my guest today one of the most long distinguished community public servants that I know of, and you'll recognize her as Melody McCray Miller. Welcome to the show, Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Barfield. Thank you, James. I've known you for a long time, and I am honored to be requested to be on your show. So yeah, it's good to be here.
Well, Melody, I can't think of anybody I'd rather have than you, and I mean that in all sincerity. You have a very, as I stated, a very long history of public service.
Yes.
And I want you to start with, because from my standpoint, you heard the old cliche about what do you get someone that has everything? Well, what do you do with someone that has done everything? And I think you've done it all.
You know what, James? Sometimes I look back at my bio or a short clip of what I've done, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. I can understand.
So it blows me away too. And that's with coming from humility, because I'm like, what? But while you're doing it, you just are doing it. You're not chalking it up and you're not logging it. You're just doing it.
Well, Melody, again, I want you to start from the time you graduated teaching college, I guess. Yeah. And you began, your first job was a school teacher here in Wichita. Is that correct?
Well, no, that I would say that was one of my first jobs. Before that, I sold insurance. I've sold real estate. So
really?
I sold real estate. I sold insurance for an independent agency. And then I sold real estate with Coldwell Banker.
Okay.
And then after that, well, even before that, gosh, let me just back up, because in Houston, I did a stint because my first degree is in psychology. And so I did some counseling it was a small therapist. They were psychotherapists. And so I did some counseling there. And then I worked with Big Brothers and Sisters as a case manager for Harris County. And that was eye-opening. When we moved back, I immediately put my application into the Big Brothers and Sisters of Sedgwick County. Nick Mork was the executive director at the time, and I got hired. And so I was a caseworker there. And, I'll interchange caseworker and case manager because they went from calling people a caseworker to case manager. So yeah, I did that. And then I decided, that's when I went to did insurance for a stint, did Coldwell Banker Realtor for a stint. And that's when I said, okay, let's get a position that if we decide to go somewhere else, it's portable. Teachers are wanted everywhere. Teaching was in my family. So I had an aunt, Aunt Louise, who taught. My sister taught. Frankie taught for a long time. We retired from teaching. Joyce, one of my cousins, taught. Another cousin taught. So it was, it made sense. And I then entered into the teacher education program for Wichita State and started teaching. So I taught there. I taught at Mayberry Middle School for 3 years, and then switched and went to high school. So I went to Southeast High, taught at my old alma mater. And that's when I decided to take the dive, is what I call it, and run for an elected office. That's why I ran for county commissioner.
Okay, so you ran for county commission, and this was right after your dad had served a term on there. Is that correct?
Actually, I ran. You remember I did the precinct race and lost because
That's
still.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
I remember. Yes.
He left he left midterm. So
right.
I did the precinct race and I lost and was devastated, but vowed to run outright. And that's what we did. And we ran and we won, and we beat the incumbent, who was Andy Bias. And Andy Bias and I are good friends today. So yeah, that was my initial into public service as an elected, because I consider teaching as public service too.
Sure. Okay. And so then after that, then you ran for a state representative
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yeah,
won.
and
Okay.
one. Yeah,
Okay.
I
And
did.
so did you serve 1 or 2 terms?
For state rep, I served 4 terms, 8 years. I ran, county commission was 1 term, 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years, yes. Okay, and I forgot that state legislature is 2 terms for
It's 2,
rep and 4 years for
right, 2
2
years.
years for rep
And
and 4 years for Senate, right?
and I served 4 terms
4
and
terms,
8
yes,
years.
years. Okay, okay. And then after that, you became an entrepreneur, if I'm not mistaken.
The fact of the matter is, I was an entrepreneur during all of it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
Larry and I started the business back in probably 91, honestly. And so we were doing our initial, I would say, kind of our testing the waters when we did fairs and things like that and had our trailer. We did that from, I'd say 93 to 91 to about 95. And then we, purchased the building that I still own, and it's up for sale now. And started first we were across the street.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you were
Lofton's-
also on the north side of the street.
Right.
In the
In the
trail.
old, what was it, a snow cone place?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
a little
I
bitty
remember.
hut, just a little bitty it only drive through or walk up. And we
Right.
did that initially, continued to build our clientele and our base. People loved it. There would be lines wrapped around the parking lot.
Mhm.
And so then we moved over to the 4601 East 13th and still did excellent business. And until when I ran for office, I knew that I couldn't do it anymore because I would be gone, 3-4 months out of the year. So that's really what ended. And then Larry, when we were driving up for the actual swearing in ceremony was the accident. But yeah, I did that. I did everything that I've said with it. I did teaching. I did, what else? So there was teaching. I did a little interim with African-American family preservation, and still all as working Miller's Barbecue. So
Now, let me just go back to when you had the place on the north side of the street where you guys first started out. And because, to go from that to the building across the street that you now own that was the impetus. In other words, the amount of customer, the size of the customer base that you had built up, that had to be the impetus for you purchasing that building across the street.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, we knew that we had it, we knew that we had an intact customer base that loved our products, that, that we had built a relationship with. So people were used to us. They loved the product again, and us. I mean, we were good people, and we loved our customers. So yeah, we knew at that time we had to. We in order for us to grow this business, that we would have to be in a larger spot. Larry needed more space, to have in terms of the smoker that he was wanting, so that he could have the capacity, to feed the people, to actually have the product to sell. So and it was a great buy because it had been sitting for a while, and the old Hardee's building. So we were able to, with the help of a loan from Small Business Administration. Well, no, it was guaranteed by SBA, but the loan was from Commerce, our bank. And we purchased and stayed there from 93 to 2005. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Now, most barbecue restaurants that are successful are primarily known for their ribs. Okay. Your business was highly unusual because your ribs shared the, how should I say it, the popularity with your baked beans.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
guys were really known for Miller's baked beans.
Mhm.
There's baked beans and then there's Miller's baked beans. And
Right.
we might add that a lot of people might not know that you still produce Miller's baked beans and is
Yeah.
now sold in grocery stores such as
Mhm.
Dillon's.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
quite
So
successfully.
yeah, absolutely. It's been successful now for 20 plus years. We've had the product. We developed it, I'd say in 98, 97, 98. And then we marketed it in 99 and it went into Dillon's and then it spread from there. So yeah. And in fact, at one point it was what's called, oh gosh, we call that a private select. They're products that have their name on it.
Private label.
Right, private label. And so they, yes, Dillon's, we went through that process, came through a winner and went into some of their lines with the private label product. And at the same time, we were selling it under the brand name Miller's. So yeah, and it's still there. And I'm working now to not only grow it domestically, because there's been some tightening with COVID and with, oh gosh, our supply chain and just all the things that have happened, has reduced some of the outside market, but I've still got a strong market in the Dillon's, which would be regionally Nebraska, Missouri, Kansas, and a little bit of Oklahoma.
Okay.
All of their stores, all of the Dillon stores that are in. Well, it's Dillon's, Baker's in Nebraska, and Gerb's over in Missouri.
Now they're all under the Kroger umbrella.
And they're all under the Kroger banner. They're Kroger. They're affiliated.
Right.
They're Kroger stores.
Right.
They just kept their names because everybody knows them, as Dillon.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now that brings us to last week.
Yes.
When it was the success of your baked beans, okay, that caused the Wichita Business Journal to name you as the 2022 business. What's the official title of the award?
I was one of the women in business. I was acknowledged as one of the women in business, and it is an esteemed honor. They select X number of women in business each year. They've been doing it now, I think, I don't know how many years, but there's three. I think the total is 300. So I am very honored that, including this class, and they call it's a class. So I'm very honored, to be recognized and included in this esteemed group of WBJ, Wichita Business Journal, Business Women of the Year.
Well, let me once again congratulate you on a well-deserved honor.
Thank you.
And I'm going to go a step further, Melody. And today I'm going to do something that I've never done before. And I don't think or know of anybody else. And I've lived here all of my life. And I can't think of anyone that is more deserving of the honor that I'm about to bestow upon you. And I'm going to call you or honor you as the First Lady of Northeast Wichita.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Now, and I say that because I don't know, and like I said, I was born and raised here, and I don't know any single female, and with the exception of your dad, maybe any male, but any female that has done more, okay, to focus on and be a community public servant, and that's what I'm going to call it, okay, because you've dedicated most of your adult life serving the communities of Northeast Wichita as well as the city at large. Now, and so I'm very proud and very pleased to bestow that title upon you, Melody.
I thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I love my community. I love the people in it. And I know Dad had a saying, him and the other Black legislators had a saying that said, what have we done for the people? They would get together after, after a day, and
Sure.
they would just caucus with each other, and they'd look, and Daddy would always say, now, what have we done for the people? And that stuck with me. And, so I keep saying, what can I do? What do we need to be doing? And that's what catapulted me and has kept me grounded in the public service work that I've been doing, both on the business side, as well as, because I see myself on the business side as being a role model, because most folk, they don't have a clue. A lot of people only identify me on the public service side.
Mhm.
And a lot of people did not even put it together that I was a part of Miller's Barbecue and or Miller's Baked Beans, or, they just, it just kind of went over them. So, to be able to master both and
Sure.
to be able to truly see what I would call the benefits and the work of my pour into this community is a beautiful thing. I'm very proud to be a Wichitan. And I thank you for the honor bestowed, because yes, Northeast Wichita, it's always good to hear from your own people,
Sure.
those that nurtured you, those that you were around, that's another thing that Dad would tell me. He would say, Mel, you're always going to need someone. People dig holes. And he said, you always need someone coming behind them, filling them up. So I'm thankful, for all these people, individuals that I know and I know well, and who know me, and the lineage, because now I'm 3 generations now.
Right. Right. Right.
So it's a blessing. That's all. It's a blessing. I was blessed with gifts, and people call them, your assignment. I know my assignment, and
Well,
I
Melody,
execute on it.
Melody, one of the things that I want to say is, oftentimes in families, there's an old saying, like father, like son. Sons usually will pick up the traits of their dad. In
Yeah.
your particular family, it's like father, like daughter, okay? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure that you picked up your desire,
Mhm.
your commitment, your
Mhm.
dedication to serve the public from your dad.
Yeah. I watched him, and I'm going to be blunt honest. Initially, I said, there's no way. There's no way I'm doing this. Daddy spent so much time and energy and focus, in helping the community and doing all and there's just a litany of good things that Dad did, and, for this community. And it just took a lot of time. And so, when I was younger, I was like,
Mhm.
no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be doing whatever else. But it hit, it hit. And it's like, if I'm going to make some changes, I've got to get out here. This is how I think I can do it best. And so I did that, and I think I did I know I did some wonderful things. But I also know that you can benefit and help your community in multiple ways. It doesn't
Sure.
have to be just in an elected position. It can be, advocacy work, which I'm doing some advocacy work right now. Obviously, it can be, from a business perspective, looking at being the face of a Black-owned business for X number of years, and, gifting into this community. So yeah, Daddy was a big part of that. And I wouldn't have done it. Yeah, it wouldn't have been a natural inclination for me. So yeah, definitely growing up with a Billy McCray, for a
Sure.
father, and he was phenomenal. I can remember when I was running for county commission, I think someone said, oh, here she comes, she's trying to come in on her father's coattail.
Right.
And
Right.
and so and then they said, you got some big shoes to fill. And I said, if there's anybody's shoes I want to fill, it'd be Billy McCray.
Billy McCray, yes, yes. Yeah, well, your dad, and when we talk about his commitment to serving the people,
Mhm.
you know, I remember a couple times when I ran for city council, and your dad would always tell me, people are counting on you. It was
Yes.
always the people. It was
Mhm.
always the people.
Mhm.
Do it for
Yep.
the people, and
Absolutely.
that was his philosophy. And it worked
Absolutely.
well for him. It's worked well for you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, it didn't work, but
Well,
that's another
not
story.
not
But
in the elected
you're right,
arena,
right.
but in terms of a mouthpiece and a formidable advocate for people, it's worked and it's
Thank you.
still
Thank you.
working.
Thank you. Now, I want to ask you this, Melody. You
Mhm.
know, like I said, you've worn all these titles: teacher, entrepreneur, uh, county commissioner, uh, state legislature. Now you're a lecturer at WSU,
I am.
even in this state. So
Mhm.
you're kind of like the what they call it, the ever ready bunny. You just keep going and keep going and keep going. So
Yeah.
I have to ask you, you're not a spring chicken anymore.
I'm
So
not. I'm
what
not.
keeps you going? What keeps you going? What drives you?
I cannot not do what I do. It really
Okay.
is that simple. When you are given the assignment, you have to do it. You have to execute on it. That's me. I'm forever looking at my purpose.
Hmm.
So, okay, so my purpose. And not only, I love teaching over at Wichita State. I've taught this coming, I'll be teaching intro, but I've also intro to political science. I've taught legislative politics and I've taught health politics, and I love them. But and I love students. I just love teaching. But when I think about now I've lost my train of thought. So I'll don't worry. That's that spring chicken gone that I'll have to get back to. It'll come.
Okay. Okay. Well, so how frequently do you lecture at Wichita State right now?
I had 2 classes last semester. That would have been the spring semester. Took off this semester, and it looks like I'll have two classes in the spring again.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
And so is that something that you look forward to doing for another 5 years or maybe 10 years? Or
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. At this point in stage in my life, I pretty much, schedule things according to, what's important to me. And so I can't give you an answer. I don't know how long I will do that, but I'll stay on the roster as a lecturer. So
Mhm.
whenever I can just chime in or possibly even lecture other places. But I do like that's where I was going to go with this is another purpose, that I know has been placed on um on me, period, is mentoring.
Okay.
Because I want, and specifically, particularly Black women, we do it, but we could do an even better job of it. And as we mature, there's so much sage wisdom that we have within us that helped us to get where we are.
Sure.
And so that's what I'm in the process of doing with other younger Black women, is just pouring into them, guiding them, helping them to be the best and to be successful in different areas. Advocacy is one, business is another.
Okay. Now I want to go back to your teaching days and talk about teaching then as compared to teaching now.
Mm.
What changes have you seen in the difference in the teaching profession when you were starting out or during your tenure
Mhm.
as opposed to the teaching profession today?
I thoroughly enjoyed my years at Mayberry and I enjoyed it, Mayberry Middle School, even better than high school. But and I did go back. Once I was a legislator, I'd said, okay, so from an education budget perspective, I wanted to get not a bird's eye view, but a hands-on view. So I went back and, relicensed and taught again. I subbed. I actually subbed. But it was, oh my gosh, it was night and day. The demeanor of the students, the disrespect of some of the students. Of course, families have changed, where they're coming from has changed. We were at the community meeting, so we heard all of what is going on in these families and how we need to do something, what we need to figure out how to heal the family in order for the child, to be most productive. So that was happening. The issues of safety, bringing guns to school, fighting, knives, just being violent. I don't remember it being at this level. I mean, it wasn't at this level. So there's a big difference in who is walking through those doors, first of all. And there's a deficit. There's a deficit of Black teachers, for one. There's a deficit of teachers with skills, with the skill set needed for the students that are walking into their building and into those classrooms. There's a lack of that. So you can't put somebody from Peabody, Kansas in a district, and this is nothing about Peabody, but it's a more rural area. More than likely that person is going to be Caucasian, white, and young. And then you expect them, and female, and you expect them to be able to walk into that classroom that's going to be 80% children of color, brown and black predominantly African-American. You expect them to be able to come in there and garner respect and to, wield some authority, enough authority where you can capture them, not only attention-wise, but, be able to get them focused where they can sit in there and learn. It's difficult. So, there's issues administratively. I mean, I don't know how they can do it differently. I don't know, but something needs to be happening because it's not benefiting our students. It's a challenge. And I know that from an administrative perspective, they are trying. I know that. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
Well, let me ask you something. I want to talk about some things that were present during the earlier years that now, basically because of politics, which I feel has been a detriment to the education of our children. But the removal of corporal punishment, removal of prayer in the schools, and now we're talking about removal of history, okay? And I'm talking about the dark side of history, okay? To me, that all has a negative impact and effect on the teachers as well as the students. And it's all about politics.
I wouldn't disagree. I won't disagree with you. The corporal punishment, I would have to temper some. I don't know that it worked. I don't know that it was the reason, that it was the only thing that could keep students in line. I think it was an option, it was an option, but school prayer, you still, depending on the building and the classroom, you can still have a moment of silence, and they have groups that can do scripture reading or can do Bible reading. So but that is building to building to building. It's not across the district. So that's contingent and dependent upon the teacher and the administrator, how you want to, if you want to incorporate. But yes, officially it's been ripped out. And then what was your third thing that needed to be happening, or is critical race theory.
Well,
So
history.
yeah,
Yes.
history. So, and its name, it's tagged critical race theory, and there's nothing wrong with that tag. There's nothing wrong with critical race theory. Because I know where it stems from. So, to whitewash what's already been whitewashed, is just crazy. And yes, it is a political game. And just as we're seeing this alt-right, ultra-right, Trump supporting, and I'm just saying it like it is, just as we're seeing that take over, Secretary of State, running for Secretary of State, wanting to run our election offices. Yeah, just as we see these things slipping in, the possibility of them actually becoming real and enacted, and having the power to overturn elections, to ignore, the vote of the people. It's politically motivated, but that's where I say an engaged and informed electorate is the strongest thing to fight any of this. And that's why, I'm on the advocacy end of this now, because we give away our power. We give away our power when we don't take the time not only to vote, sometimes we even take the time to register and then we don't vote. Seriously. So why are we abdicating and giving away our power? We're the ones that control that. So, I'm all about trying to get people to understand their power and their role in this democracy, because it doesn't, if we don't figure that out and pounce on it and use it, then we're giving it away. So yeah, it's politically motivated, but I never say, I'm not in the camp of, we can't do anything about it, oh, woe is me. No, this is when you work as hard as you can, when you work harder. You don't sit back and say, oh, well, we can't do anything about this. Can you believe that he said this? You better say something, and you need to, if somebody is misrepresenting, then you need to stand tall, put it straight. That's another thing that I don't understand, how people can sit back and then they'll go to their corner and complain about it. No, your stake is right here in the public's eye.
Well, Melody, I totally agree with you, and I'm going to say this, and I've said it many times before. We as Black people have two forms of power, but we don't recognize either one of them. And one of them is your voice.
Yeah.
And the second thing is your vote.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's like you said, speaking to the choir does not bring about any change. You've got to talk to the people.
That's right.
That have the power to make change and bring change. But we don't use our voice except to talk to each other. And you and I cannot change anything, not in the political realm.
No.
But we don't talk to those people and we don't ask questions. We take everything for granted. Okay. And I can tell you, there's a lot of fallacies that I see where Black people in particular, as you said, give away their vote without demanding anything in return. I'm sorry, I have people that get upset with me, but I can't do that. I can no longer do that. We've been fighting for 50 years for the same thing.
Right.
The same thing we're fighting for today we were fighting for in 1963.
We were
Okay.
fighting for it in 1916,
Well, okay.
1915.
You know,
We've been
so
fighting for a long time.
but nothing's changed because of the
Right.
fact we don't demand change.
Mhm.
Somebody comes out and whispers in your ear or speaks in the public microphone and makes promises.
Mhm.
We don't
Mhm.
hold them accountable.
Right.
They don't fulfill the promises. And then they come back 4 years later and make other promises.
Yeah.
We don't ask questions. We don't, there's an old saying that why buy a cow if you can get the milk free?
Right.
Right? And
Mhm.
that's exactly what politicians have done. And I don't care if you're talking about what uh, affiliation,
Right.
they all do it if they can get away with it.
Yeah.
You
No
know,
doubt.
it's up
No
to
doubt.
us,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
So I totally agree with you. We don't use our voice and we don't use our vote, and they both are very powerful. If it
Very.
wasn't, why do they go out of their way to keep us from voting?
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah. And why do they try to discount what we say when we know it's truth? Why do they
Yeah.
why do they flip it and twist it and just, try to make it like it's so crazy? No, it's done by design, and they've been doing it.
Well, they will continue to do what you allow them to do.
Mhm.
It's as simple as that. Everything we're getting is basically because we didn't ask for anything different. Okay, so they're doing what we allow them to do or what they can get away with.
Mhm.
And they basically have taken us for granted. All right. And they feel like they don't have to promise us anything anymore. Okay. And especially the Democrats, and I'm a Democrat,
Right.
but I recognize not all Democrats are good Democrats.
Right.
Not all Democrats have my best interest at heart. Okay. And so, we've got to learn, as you said, we got to investigate. We got to get some information, educate ourselves. What does this woman stand for?
Right.
What have they done in the past? Okay.
Right.
Sure, they can step up
Right.
to the mic and tell you everything. It all sounds good.
Right.
And 4 years later, they fulfill none of it and they come back with more promises.
Right.
Okay. All they want from you is your vote. That's all you mean to them is a vote.
At
we
that
can't do-
moment. At that moment. At that moment.
At
Yes.
that moment, yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So,
Mhm.
I can preach on that all day long, but I'll stop.
Yeah. Well, we all can, but yeah, I don't give up. That's what I'm working with, this an organization by the name of the Kansas Birth Justice Action. And that's what I'm working with, is to get, to get individuals to not only know the issue, but know how this issue affects and impacts them.
Right.
And don't only think about what's going on the national level, because baby, it's what's happening right here in the city
Right
of
here.
Wichita and Sedgwick County that's really affecting and impacting
Yes.
you. And this is how. So, and then you can effectively advocate for yourself. You don't just take it. You don't just say, "Oh, I didn't know anything." No, you said what, sir? No, sir, that's not correct.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah. Well, we have to have more of that. But politics today is less respected than, as we say, the used car salesman.
it
You know,
is.
I mean, and I was disappointed, but I knew this, but I just saw, I think within the last 24 hours, that one of our current representatives on the national level said that if Republicans take control of the House in 2022, he's not interested in governing. He's interested in fulfilling the prophecies of the ultra alt-right. Okay. And so
Mhm.
they've forgotten all about what your dad and yourself and my people first.
Right.
They put people last.
Absolutely.
And
It's all
yet
about your agenda.
it's about, yeah. And so that's the part I just don't get. And I say that, it says, we talk about like Donald Trump getting elected. And I say, look, to me, it's really not all about Donald Trump. it shows me what America is all about.
Yeah.
That enough Americans would vote to elect someone who is a known con man, a shyster, a grifter, a bigot, misogynistic, and everything else
All
adjective
of
you
it.
can use. You
All
know?
of it. And he'll admit it. I mean, in certain genres and certain, print and magazine, he admits it and says it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're gonna vote for me anyway. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, say, hey, I can go out and kill somebody on Fifth Avenue and wouldn't lose a vote. And it
Right.
seems to be true.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just that we need, and there again, it's all because of, I'm talking about the US population.
Mhm.
We allow that stuff to happen. Here's a guy that thinks he's above the law because
Mhm.
we've done nothing to tell him he's not. So far,
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that that will change. But hey, if the Republicans do take over the House, this January 6th committee will be a thing of the past.
Right.
Okay,
They'll shut it down.
they'll shut it down,
is
of course. Then and they'll do that within the first, I won't say 100, the first 10 days.
yeah, no, that's gonna be done, shoot, ASAP. They're not
Yeah,
gonna wait on that.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you know,
So I'm hopeful, that they will go ahead and gin it up and move the agenda that I think they've done a good job of exposing
yes.
all of this mess. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a mess
I
that
mean, and much to his chagrin, one of the leading proponents has been the Attorney General in New York, and
Mhm.
he hates that he's being prosecuted by a black female.
Yeah, she's on him. She is on him, has the authority and the reach. So it's it's good to watch. It's like he can't get away from that, regardless of how Congress goes.
Right. Well, Melanie, let me ask you this: what can we look forward to seeing from Melody McCray Miller going forward?
You'll continue to see me. You'll continue to see me working on behalf of our community, working on behalf of people, and but you'll also continue to see the entrepreneurial and business side of me work out and work forward on some
Okay.
projects that I've got in the mix. So
Okay.
yeah.
So final question: are you grooming one of your daughters? I say one of, I don't know how many you have, but
Uh,
you grooming them to be your replacement when you decide to take a rest?
Actually, I have a granddaughter that has already shown an interest, but the only thing is she's not here in Wichita, she's in Houston. But yes, she is already, and they're a different generation. So
Sure.
it's going to be, but yet, she's been watching me. So
Okay.
I think I know she's got it, but we'll see what will happen. Now, here locally, yeah, there's a couple. I don't know that it will be my children, but you never know. It was just like me. I swore up and down I wasn't going to run, but you never know when that bug may bite. And
Sure.
there's a couple of other very strong contenders in the city that I am working with on some other projects that I see a lot of potential.
Okay. I won't ask for any names. We'll keep that
No,
under hat right
they
now.
wouldn't. I don't think they'd appreciate that.
Yeah. But I say this, that's one of the things where I think we fall short. I think we don't groom enough people to prepare themselves
Yeah.
to run for public office.
Yeah,
I think that's the fallacy also.
I agree. And like you said, it's such a distasteful, it's left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And so, sometimes it's a little difficult to get them to consider it, honestly. But
I can understand. I think that's the same thing with male teachers.
mhm,
I think they probably have a bad taste and a bad feel for public education. Now, we don't have that same problem with males becoming involved in higher up levels of education, professors, or any of that. It's only in the public school system that we have the problem.
I think you're right. No, I know you're right.
Melody, it's been a pleasure
It
having you
has.
today.
It has.
And
It
I really
has.
appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule. And I
Thank
hope
you.
we can do this again sometime in the near
I'd
future.
love to. I'd love to. And thank you once again for bestowing upon me the First Lady of, you did say Northeast, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Northeast
Yes, I did.
Wichita.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Melody McCray Miller, First Lady of Northeast Wichita. Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
Melody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.